If you don't find your own motivation to play in the Ryder Cup, there's something wrong with you. You don't belong playing there.
Sometimes the best stories in golf aren't found on tour. You'll find them at the back of the range. And here's your host, Ben Adelberg.
And welcome to the Back of the Range Golf Podcast. I am your host, Ben Adelberg. This is episode 134. My guest on this episode is Justin Leonard. If you've been following along on the social media channels that I have set up for the Back of the Range, you probably saw that I teased this episode with a trivia question. And this trivia question is something that I did not realize until I started doing my research for this episode. I knew that Justin won an individual national championship at Texas back in the 90s. I knew that he won a U.S. Amateur. Immediately, I started thinking about that great amateur season that Ryan Moore had in 2004 when he won the Western and the U.S. Am and the U.S. Am Pub Links and, a truckload of other tournaments in that summer. Well, Justin Leonard won the Western and the Southern Amateur in 1992. Then he won them both again in 93. Then he was on a victorious Walker Cup team. That got me thinking, what else is on this guy's resume? He's won a major, the 97 Open at Troon. Won the Players in 98. He's on a winning Ryder Cup team twice. And when you put all those accomplishments together on the board, a lot of top names gradually fall off the list until you're left with four. The only four players in history that have won an NCAA individual national championship, a U.S. Amateur, a Walker Cup, a Major Championship, a Players Championship, and a Ryder Cup are Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, and Justin Leonard. And here's the best part. When I told him that he was part of the answer to this golf trivia question, he had no idea. He was humble, he was surprised, and just honored to be in the company of three of the best golfers of all time. When you think of Justin Leonard, you think of the putt. And we talked about the putt a little bit. But we also spoke about his family, his new TV career that he has embarked on. So while he's probably known more for sinking a 45-footer to clinch the 99 Ryder Cup at Brookline than anything else, and that's not bad, don't forget that Justin Leonard has checked off just about every single box imaginable. He's had a fascinating career, and I hope you enjoy listening to this episode. Also, we started things off discussing a new company that Justin and his wife have formed. I'm going to put a link to it in the show notes of this episode. Go check it out. It's called Tiny Tweaks. It's their own nutritional supplement company. Very cool stuff that they're doing, so go check that out in the show notes. I am rambling again, so let's get started. Justin, welcome to the Back of the Range. How are you?
All is well. Thank you for asking.
Well, I'm letting listeners know when we're recording these episodes, and just because of everything changing in the world right now, and today it's April 7th. Yeah, it's April 17th. So you are out in Aspen. What are you doing to stay busy out there?
Well, we've got 4 kids and 4 dogs, and so the kids range from, we've got a 4th graders, our youngest, to a sophomore in high school, and a couple in between. They're doing their remote learning. They've got their command central or headquarters set up on our dining room table. There's a couple of extension cords, a couple of surge protectors that are, providing ample charge to all their old devices that they've got to be on. We're still able to get out and hike, and I biked last week. I'm going to go skiing when we get done with this because we got about a foot of snow yesterday.
Wow.
Maybe a little more up high. We've been, my wife and I started a business about a year ago. We formed a company called Tiny Tweaks, and we just rolled out our first product in January. It's a fruits and greens powder. And so when this, stay at home, shelter in place started, about 5 weeks ago,
yeah,
our kids were on spring break. And so we put our kids to work.
Brilliant.
because we canceled our spring break plans. Our girls, Reese and Avery, who are freshmen and sophomore in high school, they took over kind of the social media stuff.
There you go.
And then our son, our oldest son, who's 13, Luke, he's into kind of photography, videography. So he's become our in-house photographer. And then Sky, our 10-year-old now, he just turned 10 a couple days ago. He basically just gives his approval or disapproval on things, and he's our primary consumer in the house.
Okay, all right.
So so we've stayed surprisingly busy. Because Amanda, she's more involved in the research and everything with the company Tiny Tweaks. And for those that are interested, it's tinytweaks.com, where you can buy product. And it's not just about that. It's about just living a healthier lifestyle. It's something that we've always been, pursuing, but even more so when we moved up here to Aspen about 5 years ago. And so it's way more than just a drink powder. And so that's been a fun process, and that keeps us surprisingly busy these days.
Well, and it sounds to me, I mean, now the truth's really coming out. I mean, it sounds like it's the whole purpose of having kids is for the free labor. So, I mean, that sounds like that was just, no, I'm just kidding. But, well, that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, and we're definitely going to put the link to the company in the show notes of this episode, and we'll post that out and get that out to everyone listening. I'm just curious, best athlete in the Leonard household. Are you even close to the top of that list? I mean, have seen some things that you and your kids and your wife have done up there in the mountains that are, at least for us golfers, borderline insane. Who's the best athlete in the Leonard household right now?
Oh, it's a toss up, and I'm not in the top 5.
Wow. Okay. So
between Amanda, she's done 2 half Ironmans, and she's talking about doing a full Ironman. I'm just I'm kind of her training partner, and really more for the bike. Swimming comes not very natural to me. I'm good for a 4 or 5 mile run, but on days when she's going longer, I skip those days and come up with something else. Luke, our 13-year-old, he's done a couple short, kind of kids triathlons. He and I did this, I mean, it's a race, but it was more just something for us to complete. It was called the Power of Two, where we skin up Aspen Highlands, which is you're on lighter boots. You've got this skin on the bottom of your skis, and you clip your toes in. So it's like a Nordic or a cross-country looking motion, but you can go uphill. That's what I'm going to do later today. But so we skinned up Aspen Highlands, which is about 4,000 feet vertical. Then ski down, and you're skiing down like the steepest terrain, some of the steepest terrain in Colorado. And then another small skin, and then we skied down this, basically it's a switchback hiking path, which was extremely interesting, and not something I would recommend for anyone. And then we skinned up the backside of Aspen Mountain and then skied down the front side. And so the race, it took us 7.5 hours. I think we got 7,500. We climbed 7,500 feet vertical. Now there's also a Power of 4 where there's another group that starts in Snowmass and kind of makes their way over to Highlands. And I'll just tell you, the winners did the Power of 4 in just over 4 hours. So we were definitely in the recreational league. But Luke, our 13-year-old, was he was out in front of me the whole time. And so, you got Luke, and then my girls are both in volleyball and tennis and soccer, and Sky's a good golfer. So I don't think I'm in the top 5 as far as, athletic prowess in the Leonard family.
Well, that's a shame. You really should have done something with your golf career to maybe put yourself up at the top of the list. I mean, really, what were you thinking?
Right.
Wow. I feel almost like embarrassed that we're going to be just talking about a sport now where we chase a white ball around, but we're going to try. I mean, we're going to try and do a little bit of that and just make it sound as important as possible. Before we get to just a little bit about your career and I want to kind of get your thoughts also on the current state of the game, because you are doing work for Golf Channel, work for NBC. And, we just heard yesterday or a couple of days ago, that the PGA Tour is going to resume play, hopefully at Colonial in June, and then the first four events in the schedule are going to be played without fans. That's the plan as of today, April 17th. We're going to talk about a lot of the highlights of your career, Open Championship, Ryder Cups, but you're a veteran. You've played over 20 years in the PGA Tour, and everyone has been there where you make the cut on the number, or you're starting your Sunday final round and you're the first group out, where there's not many fans, if any. And I'm just curious, because you've done it just like everyone else has in that situation. What's it like playing a PGA Tour round when there's no fans? Because that's something these guys are going to have to deal with that maybe they've never had to deal with before.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be an adjustment for players. I played at the tournament in DC. It was at Congressional a few years ago, and there was a big storm that moved through. I believe it was on Friday night. Tornadoes and lots of trees down, and lost power in a lot of areas. And so we played Saturday's round, but without fans. And no, not even spouses or family could come to the golf course. And it was really eerie that day because there's down trees everywhere. All you could hear were the sound of chainsaws, because they were trying to get things kind of squared away so that it would be safe for spectators to return on Sunday. And about the third or fourth hole, I made about a 25-footer. And my instinct took over, and I put my hand up, in the air, like,
Thank you.
To the sound of nothing. And I looked at my hand and I just thought, oh my gosh, what an idiot. And so those kind of instincts, guys are going to have to push through those things, and it's going to be eerie, but they'll, the guys play on different types of grasses, different conditions every week. Climate, how far the ball goes. It's just another adjustment that's going to have to be made. It is going to be strange. I'm scheduled to work the second event, which is the Rbc Heritage.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be strange also from a broadcaster's point of view, because, a lot of times you lay out after somebody makes a big putt or a big shot, so that the crowd noise can speak to the moment and how important it is.
Yeah.
And we could have a guy make a putt on Sunday afternoon to tie for the lead or to take the lead, and there's just going to be crickets.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be different from even the audience at home, their perspective, our perspective as broadcasters and analysts. It's going to be something that we're all going to have to adjust to.
It's going to be really interesting too, seeing about interviews after rounds and hearing their perspectives, and also how does the broadcast and how do the players try and forge a stronger connection with the fans at home, because there's, like you said, you can't get that feel from what the crowd on site and how they're reacting. So
you're absolutely right. And from the TV perspective, on any given week, there's probably 100 to 150 people on the television crew.
Yep.
My guess is that we're going to pare that down to a much, maybe half of that, maybe even maybe as few as 40 or 50 people. And so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we lose some of the bells and whistles, some of the shot tracer, or it just doesn't happen as often, because all that technology, not only does it cost money, but it's personnel that you've got to have to run it, to run those specific cameras. to do things in the production truck, to overlay graphics and those kind of things. So it may be, I wouldn't be surprised if it was more of a kind of a bare bones telecast from a technology standpoint. But I think you're right. I think there's opportunities for the players to maybe interact with the cameras more often, to try and, give the sense. Certainly some players, some are just going to go about business as they always have. But
Right.
I think there's opportunities there to, make the telecast different and better in a lot of ways.
I was kind of going to save this for later, but since we're kind of on the topic and talking about TV, and I think I've had conversations in the past, whether it be with caddies or whether it be with other TV personalities, where the PGA Tour is, while they are playing golf, it is entertainment. And I've thought about that comment, and I haven't had the chance to really speak to a PGA Tour player about it, but, you were on tour a couple of years before Tiger came on. You won your major the same year as Tiger won, 1997. Golf really blows up, and it seems like now they're trying to figure out a way, how are they going to make the tour as entertaining as possible? I mean, can you just speak to how important it is to not just go out there and go about your business, but you need to be an entertainer?
You're absolutely right. And I think I did a poor, well, I know I did a poor job of that.
Okay.
Certainly early on in my career. I mean, for me, I took it very seriously, too seriously at times. I don't think I interacted with the fans as well as I should have, as I wished I would have. That came later on in life for me as, I came to my faith, I got married, I had kids, and I understood a bit more of how special it is for parents to bring their kids out to a golf tournament. And when I was playing out there, and I'm not making excuses, I'm just trying to explain a mindset.
Yeah.
We see it every day, every week. But I think being a parent now, I realize how special that is for someone. And unfortunately, I didn't really learn that until later on in my career. But I think it is something that this younger generation understands. They connect with their fans and fans of the game through, their different social media outlets and all those things. And I think there's a greater awareness of that in these young players today. And that's why they're so easy to work with from a TV perspective.
Okay.
Because they understand that when I walk in the driving range on Saturday morning, they're, some of them, not all of them, but are like, will stop what they're doing and come talk and say, hey, I've got this going on or that, or, they're willing to, I don't really ask questions. I just kind of listen, but they're willing to talk. And that's something that I didn't do early on in my career that I wish I had.
You started your career after this, your professional career after this remarkable amateur career. I will put links up. I mean, people need to look and see, what you did in your amateur career, which is absolutely incredible. I mean, back-to-back Western Ams and Southern Ams, and you got a U.S. Amateur in '92 and individual national championship with Texas in '94. When you're coming out of college, I'm guessing you're just thinking that I'm just going to explode. I'm asking because after all of this amateur success, are you just thinking I'm just going to explode onto the tour and I'm set? You didn't have to go to Q school. You had your sponsor invites that you didn't have to deal with that. So I'm just curious, as one of the best amateurs of all time, what's your thought process heading on to the PGA Tour?
Well, I was fortunate. I won the U.S. Amateur in '92. So '93, I played in 5 or 6 professional events, and 3 of them were majors.
Yeah.
I made the cut at the U.S. Open. I missed the cut at the Masters and at the Open, but made the cut at the U.S. Open. I made a couple other cuts. The Byron Nelson, I played well. Over at Colonial, I played well. And so I got a sense of that it was something that I could be successful doing. But I didn't really come out of college thinking, okay, I've got the bull by the horns. I knew I need to go out and perform. And at that point, yeah, I got my agent at the time, got sponsors exemptions lined up. And in the third event that I played, which is no longer played, but it was an event at Kingsmill in Virginia. I finished third that week, and that plus a couple other good finishes helped me kind of lock up my card. And having a great finish like that so early, then I was able to get unlimited sponsors exemptions. So I think I played either 12 or 13 events that year in '94. But then I went through a little period in September, October where I didn't play very well. And all of a sudden I'm like, well, I may be going to Q school, those kind of things. And the last event that I was in was the Texas Open. There was the tournament in Vegas was the following week. I didn't get a spot there. So it was an important week for me. I remember I was playing with Bobby Watkins, Laney Watkins' brother, and we had the same agent, and this is on Sunday. And so I played a lot of practice rounds and things with Bobby, and I start out, I think I bogeyed the first hole, maybe the first two holes. And Bobby knew that it was a big round for me, that I needed a good finish. And we're walking off the third tee, and he says, hey, he called me Junior Pro. He said, hey, Junior Pro, it's just you and I out here. We're just playing on a Tuesday. Okay. Play like you're playing on a Tuesday. And that settled me down, and I played really well the rest of the day. And I finished 15th or something like that, and was able to keep my card after the tournament in Vegas. So it was a lot of fun. It was great to be able to avoid going to Q school because I hear about, the pressure cooker that is. So it was really a fun year. I learned a lot from guys like Tom Kite, Davis Love, and Bobby Watkins and Robert Wren, these guys that some you've heard of, some you may not have, but they were all very helpful and instrumental in me helping to get comfortable that first year.
Talk about your agent, the modern pro these days talks about, their team around them, and that's got to have an agent and a manager and a psychologist and a chef and publicist and all that stuff. And just to put it in perspective, how much things have changed about, since 25 years ago. You have one of these great amateur careers and you get started. Who was on Team Leonard when you were making your debut? I'm assuming there were some family members involved.
Yeah, my mom and dad, my instructor, Randy Smith, and my caddy was Steve Holka that first year, who Tom Kite kind of helped set that up. And then my agent, which was Vinny Giles, and that was it. My mom was kind of secretary, travel agent, that kind of thing, and figuring out where to stay and all that stuff. And so it was a lot of fun. But you're right, guys kind of assemble these teams, and they have multiple coaches and all that. And I think the important thing with all that is that ultimately it's up to the player to decipher the information and kind of make it their own. We can get into that later, but I think I'm not sure I could do the whole like team thing and multiple instructors and all that, because how do you've only got a certain number of hours during the day, a certain number of hours to practice or at a tournament, and it must be, time management must be extremely important when you've got these large teams like a few players do have.
Yeah. You mentioned Giles. He was your captain at 92 Eisenhower Trophy. You had, it was him and Jay Sigel and Alan Doyle, just the players the captains that you've had over the years on all the teams are absolutely incredible. And I'm going to ask you about a couple of those captains later, but you're starting your professional career and you're one of the last guys to get away from Persimmon. And, like I said earlier, you come on tour just a couple of years before Tiger. And I know the Pro V1 made a huge impact in the year 2000, but, equipment's changing and, players are changing their fitness goals. And, obviously distance is the big thing now. I mean, today's juniors and college players, it's almost like they're being taught about spin rates and launch angles before they're being taught how to hit a cut 7-iron. How did you adapt to the distance boom throughout your career? I mean, I'm guessing it didn't hit really until maybe early or, early 2000s, but once it did hit, it was pretty much a reality you couldn't get away from, or anyone can get away from.
No, you're right. And I think early in my career, distance wasn't as great a factor.
Right.
It's always been an advantage, but you're right. When the golf balls started to change, guys started going to solid core golf balls, multi-layers. And like you said, early 2000s, that's when it really started to push for distance, and could kind of see it coming a little bit. I still felt very comfortable on certain golf courses, and I usually tried to only play the courses where I felt like I had a good chance.
Okay.
Obviously, you get to a major championship that's, back 15 years ago that was 7,500 yards. It's like, okay, this may not be set up for me, that kind of thing. But still going to places like Whistling Straits and I would get to a golf course like that maybe I hadn't seen before. And I thought, you know what, this is a place I could play because, the troubles maybe pushed out a little bit further, those kind of things. And so, but I tried to get a little bit longer. I knew I was never, Tiger can't change its stripes. And so I knew that I had to really just kind of focus on the things that I did well. If I could pick up 5 or 10 yards here or there, great. But, really for me, it's about a good short game, making putts, putting the ball in play and minimizing my mistakes. And it is amazing though, how the game has changed. And you're absolutely right that junior golfers, high school, college golfers. I mean, I was captain of the junior U.S. President's Cup team, and we went down to Australia in December. And the sophistication that these high school, I won't call them kids, but these schoolers have as far as the numbers and the technology and everything was fascinating. And some of the players, you could see they were maybe missing a little bit of the nuances of, knowing when it's time to maybe step on the gas a little bit, knowing when it's time to back off and hit it in the middle of the green. And so, especially playing a golf course like Royal Melbourne, the greens are very severe. They were very firm and fast. And so that was I figured that was kind of my job, was to help these guys figure out how to play a very strategic golf course. And that was a lot of fun that week. But the ability they have to hit the ball, not just miles, but control their wedges and all that. And they do a lot of that through technology. That's how Dustin Johnson reached number 1 in the world, was by using a launch monitor and dialing in his wedges and those kind of things. And so I think the guys that rely on it too much will struggle at times.
Right.
I think there's a good balance for using the technology, and there's other times when you just got to go out and play golf and figure out how to shoot a score on a day when you don't quite have everything that you want.
It's just it's the modern game, and it's just fascinating to watch and see how different players are adapting to it. But I that's why I wanted to ask you, because you kind of were already entrenched in this very successful career. I think you won every year from 97 to 2007, except for 1 or 2 years. So you have this very consistent career, but you see where things are going. I'm also looking at some of the things, like you were right there in the middle of so many incredible things. You just mentioned the playoff at Whistling Straits and the PGA. You're also, as we joked about earlier, you're the forgotten man, so to speak, in the Laurie Van de Velde playoff at Carnoustie, and then you're also top 10 the 97 Masters when Tiger won his first, when you were T7, and you'll have to excuse me, I hate to bring it up, but you only lost by 16. But don't worry, so did Davis Love, and so did I mean, you're in great company. I think there are 4 guys at T7. All 4 were major champion winners. But you see this thing happen where Tiger bursts on and wins his first major. And I just have to ask, being there, what are some of the locker room conversations? Or maybe like a week or 2 later, you're catching a flight with another guy. Was there just like, oh, man, this thing is for real. It's coming. Life on tour has now changed. Or was there anything like that?
I don't remember a moment when I thought, okay, yeah, things have definitely changed now. I mean, with Tiger, it all happened so quickly.
Right.
He comes on tour in I think he turned pro at the end of '96.
Yep. After the USAM, yeah.
He won a couple times that fall, and it's like, wow, this kid's really good. And then he shows up the Masters and does what he does, and it's kind of like, okay, at the time it's like, how am I going to beat this guy? And then if you think about it long enough, you're like, okay, I'm not going to beat him. I may get him every once in a while, but I'm not going to beat this guy consistently, because this is a once in a generational type of player. And now we're realizing, well, he might be the greatest to ever play.
Right.
And so, but it's so interesting and fascinating to me, because he truly created this generation of golfers now that he's playing against.
Oh yeah.
They saw what he did, the way he drove the golf ball, the work that he put in, and they all looked up to Tiger Woods growing up, and now he's befriended quite a few of those guys in South Florida. Plays practice rounds, practices, when he's at home with those guys. And so it's pretty fascinating to watch him compete against the generation of golfers that he created and inspired.
Well, the thing that I'm also fascinated by with that, just to piggyback of what you're just saying, is that all these guys looked up to him, and Tiger now is, like you said, befriending them. And I'm not entirely convinced that they all want to beat him as much as they want to be near him and be his buddy. I'm sure they will never, I'm sure they'll say the right things. I want to beat him. I want to take him down. I know they've said that many times. I can't wait for Tiger to get out here. I want a piece of Tiger. I don't know how much they want to beat him, or if they just kind of want to be in the inner circle.
I think it's a combination of both, because it sounds like there's a lot of shade thrown both directions. And I'm talking particularly about like Justin Thomas, Ricky Fowler, Tiger, Bryson. Like, I think they all give each other the needle pretty good, but I mean, nobody has the intensity, the ability to flip the switch, to really compete that Tiger Woods has. I mean, that's what's made him so great. Obviously the talent, but to be able to do it so often. And I think, as we've seen, when he's healthy, when he feels good, and we haven't seen it this year yet, but I think back to Australia in the President's Cup, he was so good.
Yeah.
And he had a lot going on, thinking about him being the captain as well. But physically, he looked so good and strong then. I hope we get to see that version of Tiger Woods more often. And I kind of hope, when we get to the Masters in November, I'm hoping that it's a little warmer than it normally is in November in Augusta, Georgia, because I feel like the warmer it is, the better chance he has to feel well physically.
Yeah, I hope I'm completely wrong, but I have a feeling that there's a good chance that 2019 Masters is going to be looked at in the same way as the 86 Masters, and perhaps it could be the last one that he wins. Hope I'm wrong. I hope he gets to 17, because any Masters or any major that he plays after 17 is just going to be incredible, because you're watching him try and tie Nicklaus. I hope it's warm. We're just going to need to wait and see. A lot about golf right now. We're just going to have to wait and see. Later in 1997, you pick up your major championship victory, the Open Championship at Troon, and you had your caddy there, Bob Reifke. And I was just curious, anytime we hear of golfers coming out of the state of Texas, the natural correlation with them being great wind players or using the ground effectively to navigate golf courses, the correlation's always there. You're playing well that year, as I said, top 10 in the Masters. Can you talk about how you prepared for this Open Championship?
So I went over in 95 and 96 to qualify for the Open. I made it through both times. But back then, the qualifier was on Sunday and Monday before the event started on Thursday. And so I would get over there on Thursday, play a couple practice rounds, try and get acclimated and everything. then you go through the qualifier, and then you only get 2 practice rounds, Tuesday and Wednesday, before the Opens begins. And so 97 was the first year that I was exempt. So I got over there early. I got in on like Sunday morning, I believe, and just kind of immediately fell in love with the golf course. I played 18 holes every day starting Sunday. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And on Monday and Tuesday, I went back out and played another 4 or 5 holes. I think I played 80 holes in practice that week. Now, I didn't go to the driving range because it was pretty windy and the direction wasn't great. I just spent all my time on the golf course.
Interesting.
And my caddy at the time, Bob Reifke, I kind of told him at the beginning of the week, I said, let's really get to know this golf course, because this is one that I really feel comfortable on. And so that was our game plan going into the week, was playing a lot of holes, spending a lot of time on the golf course. And then Thursday the weather wasn't great. It was blowing really hard on the way in, which, Troon is more of a true links where you play out one direction, you come back in. And so it was into the wind. And I think I had 10 or 11 putts on the back nine. I hardly hit a green, but I was getting it up and down and really just shot a pretty decent score. And then the weather got nice and I was able to play more aggressively. But yeah, Bob Reifke, my caddy then, was really instrumental. He didn't complain about playing a lot of holes in practice. I think he could sense my excitement and see my game. In fact, he placed a wager on me early in the week for, I don't know, it was 3,000 or 4,000 pounds. I think he made more from having me as the winning ticket than he did from me actually paying him for all the help that he gave me. So, so he came out pretty good at the end of that week.
Wow, that's a great story. Yeah, I did. I reason I was asking about him is I read, there's a interesting article about him, how he basically went to school to be we got a college degree in marketing, and then it's like, I want to chase the PGA Tour. It almost feels like when I hear some of these caddy stories. I just talked to Billy Foster yesterday, and just hearing some caddy stories, it's almost like it's just as unlikely for a caddy to make it on the PGA Tour as a player, almost. Maybe even less. I don't know. It's interesting. You hear all these caddy stories. You're like, how did you even make that? Because you don't hit the shot.
Right. So. Right. And it's, there's just a wide variety of guys that make it into caddying. A lot of time and we're seeing now a lot of the younger caddies are very good golfers.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe they just didn't quite make it professionally. I've also played, casual rounds with a few caddies that horrendous golfers. I mean, Joe LaCava is not a good golfer, but he's an incredible caddy.
Right.
And then you've got guys like Mike Cowan or Fluff, who is a great golfer. And you wouldn't know it by his swing, but he gets it around the golf course and it's pretty fun to watch. And so, but yeah, I've had, guys like Bob Reifke, who got into it kind of they maybe caddied, growing up and got back into the game through a connection, a player, something, a friend. Others, Taylor Ford, same kind of thing. Went to college. He played college golf, very good golfer in his own right. And I believe it was one of his roommates that kind of asked him to caddy for him. And he enjoyed it and kept kind of moving up through the ranks. Started out on the LPGA, went through the Korn Ferry Tour, and then I picked him up for a year. So, there's a lot of different ways to get where you need to go. It's not always, it doesn't always happen the way you think it will.
Yeah. You mentioned, we had Giles as your captain for Eisenhower Trophy, and you played on 3 Ryder Cup teams, played on 5 President's Cup teams. We're obviously not going to go through each one. We'll hit on a couple of them if that's all right with you. But I'm looking at your captains, and just looking at President's Cup, it's your first opportunity playing in a team environment in '96, and your captains Arnold Palmer, Nicklaus is your captain on 3 of the President's Cup teams. You have Texas guys at the Ryder Cup, Kite and Crenshaw. I can't even imagine what that's like. You're that young coming into this thing, and you have Arnold Palmer is running the team.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, to be around he and Jack Nicklaus in that capacity, and to be able to spend time around both of those guys was just, it was an incredible experience. And to be, I think I was 24 years old or something at the time. I don't know if I said more than 5 words all week to anyone, including my caddy. I was just, very quiet. I just wanted to kind of take and soak things in and just do as I was told. But I look back on all those experiences and playing for those different guys. Playing for Jack was incredible. I played in the '93 Masters as an amateur, and Mr. Nicklaus came over to me on their driving range on either Tuesday or Wednesday and said, "Hey, I'd like to play a practice round with you at Baltusrol at the U.S. Open on Tuesday. Let's play at 10 a.m." I was like, "Yes, sir, Mr. Nicklaus," and I look forward to it, and thank you. And that ended up being my 21st birthday. So on my 21st birthday, I played a practice round at Baltusrol in the U.S. Open with Jack Nicklaus. And so to be able to do those kind of things with true legends of the game, the guys that made the PGA Tour, made golf what it is today, to be able to spend time around those guys was incredible. And then to play for Tom Kite in '97 and then Ben Crenshaw in '99, both went to UT. I spent a lot of time with both of them when I was in college. And they're so different in their personalities,
Sure.
how they approach things. It was really 2 very contrasting experiences, '97, '99. Just some great experiences. And then you get to play for Fred Couples and President's Cup and Paul Azinger in 2008 Ryder Cup. I take a lot from those experiences and remember how those captains handled certain situations. And I just look back on them with complete fondness.
You played '97 Ryder Cup at Valderrama, like you said. Kite was your captain, and you actually partnered up with Tiger in the Saturday afternoon session, and he's had, I think, about 12 different partners in the Ryder Cup. His Ryder Cup record isn't the greatest, and I think there have been several comments about well, how do you find a partner to play with Tiger? That's kind of been he's had 12 different partners. What was your experience playing with him? I know you have the match that you played. I think it was with Ignacio Garrido and, I think it's Olazabal. I think that's who it was. But you have the match, but this is obviously, it's looking back on one experience, but can you maybe see things that would make it difficult to play with Tiger, or is it just things happen in different match play environments and it is what it is?
Well, I had played some tournaments with Tiger. It was funny because we didn't play any practice rounds together. It was a complete surprise.
Oh,
at least to me.
That's fun.
I think I was playing, I can't remember. I was playing with either Jeff Maggart or Brad Faxon on Saturday morning. And Tom came up, found me somewhere late in the round and said, "Hey, I'm going to pair you with Tiger this afternoon." I was like, "Oh, okay, great." I didn't know what kind of golf ball he used. I didn't know much of anything. And so, you go in, finish your match, have a bite of lunch, sit down with Tiger. Okay, what do you want to do? Do you want the odds or the evens? Because I think pretty sure we were playing alternate shot. That's why I was thinking immediately about the golf ball. And he goes, "Well, we're playing my ball." I said, "Okay." We were off, and it was fun. That atmosphere, playing a Ryder Cup, especially playing over there, is just so cool. It's hard. It's not easy playing with Tiger. The other team knows that if they lose to Tiger, they probably should have lost because he was the best player in the game.
Right.
But if they win, they can give their team so much momentum. And
Yeah.
so the other team tends to play more freely, more kind of wheels off, without the pressure. Then if you're Tiger's partner, you've got the pressure of, okay, we're supposed to win because I'm playing with Tiger, the
Right.
best player in the game. And you're playing against this team that's got nothing to lose. And so it's not easy. I mean, you know, he and Steve Stricker had some success.
Yep.
I think he had Matt Kuchar play a little bit and have some success?
I think
Might have been a President's Cup.
Yeah, I know that him and Davis had some success. But I mean, he's had partner. I mean, Steve Pate. Him and Pate got along really well in '99 for some reason. I mean,
yeah, they did. That was a funny matchup. But it's hard because as a player, you're already feeling pressure, and then you've got to. You're supposed to win the match because you're playing with Tiger Woods. You're playing against a team that's got nothing to lose. Like it's difficult, and it's kind of no wonder his record isn't great in the Ryder Cup because it takes away his ability over 72 holes to wear the field down.
right.
And B, he's playing against guys like they got nothing to lose.
Some of his losses, I was just looking at his record. They're just he lost to Roca, I think, in that Ryder Cup 4-2 in singles. Like how the hell did that happen? But it did. It's just an interesting thing how you just look at. I can't imagine what those galleries are like. And I don't think the media is going to spin it away of saying, boy, Leonard really carried the team. Just wish Tiger would have helped out. And they're not going to say that. I mean, come on. So you're probably, if people are looking at your career and your achievements, and I'll ask you about this because there's a trivia question that I looked up, and there are 4 players in history that have won an NCAA individual championship, a U.S. amateur, played on a Walker Cup, won a major, won a Players, and played on a Ryder Cup team. There's 4 people that have done that. It's Tiger, Phil, Jack, and Justin Leonard. And I brought that to your attention. Please tell me you're aware of that. I didn't break some news to you, did I?
No, I had no idea of that. And that's, it's an honor to have accomplished something that those guys have. And I think for me, I played so well early in my career. And I look back, the peak of my career was 97 to like 02, 03.
Yeah.
Very early on, really before, like we were talking about earlier, the golf ball changed and length became, much more of an advantage, and guys really started keying on hitting the ball further. But it was just, I look back with a lot of fondness early in my career, my amateur career, back in the fall, or actually, no, it was January. I got inducted in the Southern Golf Association Hall of Fame. I flew to Charleston to one of their annual meetings and saw a lot of faces there that I remember from, my amateur days playing Southern amateurs and those kind of things. And it's fun to be able to look back. I don't do it very often, but when I do, I have a lot of fun and just fortunate to have played so well early on in my career.
Well, you had a great career. Then when you look at, I think about the putt you made at Brookline in '99. That's when, everyone knows that they can vision that in their mind, just thinking about the putt, and then just obviously the reaction of the team, and that's embedded. But you have all these great accomplishments. I'm thinking about other players that, like I think about Hal Sutton, where with people think about Hal Sutton, they think about, be the right club today when he beat Tiger in the at the Players, or his captaincy in '04, or even Tony Jacklin, where really he's the only European player to win the U.S. Open, like a 85-year history, and Jacklin's known for the concession with Nicklaus at Birkdale in '69, and all these back and forth things, and not to bring up bad stats, but you actually didn't win a match in the Ryder Cup until 2008, and they're remembering your '99 as a Ryder Cup hero. Do you ever think back to maybe if I just won a couple matches and that putt never went down, but we still won the Ryder Cup? maybe the perspective of my career would be more in totality and not just on this one putt I made at Brookline on 17. Because I'm guessing you hear about that still to this day.
I do. I hear, well, not so much in the last 5 weeks, but
well, I mean, yeah.
Before the shelter in place, at least once a week, I would hear from somebody who was there. I think I've met all 83,000 people that were around that green, which there's no way there were that many people, but there, I feel like I've met every person that was there that day at Brookline. And I the only thing I would have changed about the way it all happened was, I wish I would have gone straight to the team to where not everybody came across the green.
Right.
That's the only thing. That, and on 18 green, I should have given Jose Maria the putt. I had about a 30-footer. He had a 25-footer. I should have just picked mine up and said, yours is good, and given him the hole, because we'd already won. I was one up playing 18.
Right.
And so we'd already won the cup. I didn't give it to him. He made it anyways, but I just wish I would have given him that putt. But going back, I remember in 08, and I knew that I had not won a match. I'd tied a few.
Yeah.
I tied a few important matches, but I'd never won a full point in a match. And I remember I was playing. That was the year of the whole pod system that Paul Azinger put together. So it was Phil Mickelson, Anthony Kim, myself, and Phil wanted to play with Anthony. And so we basically, Paul said, who do you want to pick to fill out your pod? And so I knew that we were picking my partner. And Phil and I both said Hunter Mahan. And so we picked Hunter. Hunter and I played together. We won. I think we won 2 matches and tied the other. Something like that. We played well all week. But yes, I do remember the kind of the pressure. And, thinking back after 99, I played the Ryder Cup in 97, 99. I'd played a couple President's Cups. Like, I thought, man, this Ryder Cup, this is going to be my gig here for the next 10 years.
Okay.
Then all of a sudden I don't make a team for a while. So I got to 2008 with a whole nother appreciation for being there. And, rather than, all serious and everything like I usually am, like I was at that point in time, 2008, you couldn't wipe the smile off my face. Yeah. I was just there. I was going to enjoy it. I was going to play loose and have fun and play with Hunter. And sure enough, that we did, and it worked out great.
That was a really impressive day you had there, where you beat Stenson and Casey 3-2, and then you beat then you beat Garcia and Jimenez in the afternoon. So yeah, that had to be absolutely just a really nice cap point to the team aspect of your career. Where, but yeah, I keep coming back to the fact that, like, that's something that you're dealing with all the time, as with that putt, and then all the backlash and all the aftermath of that thing, where just you've been in so many different niches in your career that have been memorable, and for people to pick that one, it's I don't know. I guess that's the way golf is.
It's the way golf is, and it's something. And if you as a player, if you do something important like that in the Ryder Cup, because everybody's pulling for you,
right?
Over at the Open. When I went over there, I mean, yeah, I'm sure there were a few Americans pulling for me, but I'm also playing in the same group with Fred Couples that day.
Right.
They're pulling for him way more than they were for me. Jesper Parnevik, Darren Clark were in the last group. Think back to the players and but you do something like that in a Ryder Cup or a President's Cup when you've got an entire country or a region, in the sense of the European team, that are really pulling together. It can have a much greater impact on your career, as it did mine, than just an individual achievement.
When Crenshaw made the prediction Saturday and in the press conference that he's a big believer in fate, he's got a good feeling about this. When you guys learned about that, what was maybe your initial reaction hearing that from him? Was it, we're going to do this, or was it just like, I don't know? I mean, what were your kind of thoughts after you heard that?
Well, I was back at the hotel with Davis Love. I think it was at the hotel. Was he at the hotel at the golf course? I think it was at the hotel. And when he said that, I looked at Davis and we both thought, okay, he's completely lost it now. Because I mean, I've got a good feeling about this. We were down by 4 points.
Yeah.
And then the next morning, I was in the, I don't know, 9th or 10th singles match. And we talked about the night before Ben put the pairings in that we needed to build some momentum. So we put the guys who were really playing well out in front. David Duval, Davis, Phil, Tom Lehman, Hal Sutton, Tiger, put those guys out first to try and get some momentum, create a little bit of doubt amongst the Europeans. And so Phil was playing maybe an hour before I teed off. So I'm sitting there eating breakfast in the clubhouse, and Phil sits down, and I kind of look down at my watch. I'm realizing, okay, he's going to tee off in like 40 minutes, and a few more minutes goes by. He's not really saying much. I said, Phil, are you going to go warm up before your match? You're going to go straight to the tee? He said, I'm not going out there until I know we can win. And he kind of put his head back down, didn't say anything else, waited about 30 seconds. And then he didn't say good luck. He didn't say anything. He just got up and left. And I was like, wow, okay, so that's where we are. And it really kind of set a tone for the whole day. Those guys got off to a great start. And it built into this this moment that happened that I was fortunate enough to be a part of.
Yeah, that's a really good Phil story. He's a different dude. He seems to be a little bit of a different dude. You mentioned about you wanting to concede your putt to Jose Maria Alfabel. Payne Stewart did give Colin Montgomery that putt on 18 that truthfully didn't really mean anything at that time that have the match. And then, less than a month later, Payne Stewart's gone. I can only imagine what kind of a Ryder Cup captain he would have been.
He would have been phenomenal. I mean, he would show up in the morning at the hotel or after dinner and have these, USA flag kind of karate pant looking things on and blaring Born in the USA. And I mean, just a couple months before the Ryder Cup, when we were, both solidly on the team, my phone would ring and it'd be Payne, and he'd say, "What are you doing today to get ready for Brookline?"
Wow.
This is 2 months out. This isn't the week before. This is 2 months out. And so he just brought a passion to it that it was phenomenal. And he would have been an amazing captain, no doubt.
I would have loved to see like him against. Gosh, I wonder who he would captain against. I mean, obviously you can look down the different chain, but I'm just thinking on the European side. I mean, I'm guessing, I don't know. I mean, maybe he would have been there in 08.
Right.
Valdo.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you think he and Zinger were such good friends.
Yeah.
He would have been right in there for sure.
Yeah. You've made the transition to TV for a multitude of reasons, and there's this new wave of on-air talent that's coming to golf, whether it's, Shane Bacon at Fox, or I know that CBS grabbed Colton Oast, and, yourself and Michelle Wee and Christy Kerr. And what are maybe some of the things that you want to bring to television? How do you want to cover the game that perhaps is different than how you've seen it covered throughout your career? Are there different things that are really important to you or that you're passionate about that you want to provide to the viewer or the listener?
My goal is to find a balance between the technical aspect of being able to look at a golf swing and understand what's going on, which has been a pretty big learning curve for me, because for 43 years I was just worried about one golf swing, which was my own.
Yeah.
And now over the last 4 to 5 years, trying to understand people's golf swings and what to look for, balancing that with what is it like to try and make a cut on a Friday afternoon, or to finish off a 61 or a 62, or bounce back from missing 3 cuts in a row and now being in contention, trying to win your first tournament, trying to, those kind of things. Trying to let our audience in on the likely mindset. You never know exactly what a player is thinking, but the likely mindset of of a player, and knowing the players and their personalities is important. And I think that's where, the fact, now I know it's been 4 years since I played, but I still know a lot of the guys and even the younger guys, because like I mentioned earlier, they're so forthcoming with information, with what's going on and those kind of things. But being able to balance those two and provide a sense of entertainment. I mean, we're playing golf. It's not,
right.
It's not brain surgery. It's important. But in the end of the day, trying to provide entertainment with some information that, and hopefully when we finish a week where a player's been in contention all week, our audience, especially if it's kind of maybe a lesser known player, that our audience has a new respect for, for somebody's talent level or what they've been through in their life. A lot of times Thursday, Friday, we can kind of get into more storytelling, more about what they've gone through,
sure.
Growing up or things like that. You get to Saturday and Sunday and it really kind of, your focus really narrows into the golf side of things. But hopefully at the end of the week, people can say, you know what, I really learned a lot about that guy and I'm now a fan of his, that kind of thing. And, again, the goal is to be entertaining. I think it's important to bring some information along the way to, those serious hardcore golfers. You need to speak to a pretty wide audience. And I enjoy that whole process. And I feel like I learn something every week that I work, from either something wrong that I did that I don't want to repeat, or something that I take something that, somebody I really admire does well, like Terry Gannon or working with Phil Blackmar. There's the obvious, Dan Hicks and Mike Tirico, and Gary Koch's been a great mentor of mine. And of course I get to spend some time with Paul Azinger. But it's those other guys when I'm working a tournament, maybe it's just with the Golf Channel crew, that I go, wow, Matt Gogel's got a great way of saying, X and Y and those kind of things. So I really feel like I still, every week that I work, that I learn something new. And that's, I think that's one of the reasons I'm so attracted to doing the TV work. It kind of replaces that itch that I had with the game of golf. And that for me, it was more about the process and putting in the work and trying to find ways to get better here and there. And I'm able to now kind of feed that through my work in TV and broadcasting.
Yeah. And I like seeing how there's the dynamic between you and Duval, and you have so much history together from your playing days, whether it's on the amateur side or both open champions. So I think that's just a unique tie-in where you can throw in stories that you both experienced together. I think it's great. And I could totally see what you're saying about you being a very meticulous person and being a I don't want to say grinder but just you're very, very, very dedicated to your craft. So I think it sounds like it's the perfect fit.
Yeah. And it's been fun. I mean, I got the call back in January from Golf Channel asking if I would, they wanted to put me on the primetime show. And Frank Nobilo left to go be with CBS full time. I've worked with Brandel a couple times. David, same way, a couple times, a couple of telecasts, and then a couple of live froms. But to be a part of that, that primetime team it was a lot of fun. I only got to do it for 4 days, starting Monday at the Players. Thursday, March 12th, sports changed forever. And I was on the telecast with Golf Channel. I was doing holes as a hole announcer for the first half of the show. So I was kind of just in all golf mode there for about 4 or 5 hours. I got back to the TV compound to get ready for our night show, and the whole sporting world had changed. I mean, events are being canceled, NBA season postponed. And so, it was an interesting shift there from, the first 3 days where we're analyzing swings and players' chances. And, Thursday, we're going to be talking about going through highlights and those kind of things and setting up the next day, and all of a sudden we're talking about social distancing and moral responsibility and the coronavirus, and it was a crazy like 18 hours there for the world of sports, and I was kind of right in the middle of it. I felt like I went from being on Golf Channel to being on MSNBC or something like that. Right. It's like I was speaking way above my pay grade there between Thursday night and we had to go back to the set to do a live shot at 11 o'clock because Jay Monahan at just before 10 o'clock p.m. had decided to cancel the rest of the players, and then we went back again Friday morning to kind of handle that news, and then there was news coming out from Masters that they were going to postpone their event. And so it was a crazy 18 hours there where the whole landscape of sports changed.
I can't believe that we've been dealing with this for a month. It feels like it's been just like 3 months or 4 months. It just feels like it was forever ago. Justin, I appreciate the time. I know we could have hit on several other things because you've accomplished so much in your career, and I think it's fantastic that you found this new avenue that you're going to chase after. And boy, we didn't even talk about Champions Tour. We'll do that some other time. We can talk about that some other time. But stay safe up there in the mountains. Enjoy the snow, and I appreciate you stopping by the back of the range.
Thank you for having me on. And yeah, we'll just have to do it again so we can get to some other things.
And there you have it. Special thanks to Justin Leonard for joining me on this episode of the Back of the Range Golf Podcast. Don't forget, follow along on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Every single episode is available at thebackoftherange.com. Check the show notes for the link to Justin's company, Tiny Tweaks. We will see you again next time for another episode here at the Back of the Range.